British Army was asked to fight tonight,
Yes.
it would fight tonight. And I don't think anybody in this room should be under any illusion that if the Russians invaded Eastern Europe tonight, then we would meet them in that fight. That would be the first point I'd make.
Thank you, General. Yeah, no, I'm absolutely certain that if the Russians invaded Eastern Europe, the British Army would be there. I'm a reserve officer, so I would probably be there with them.
The former commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian army making the grim declaration World War III has officially begun as the country faces pressure from North Korea and Iran. Now Russia retaliating with new ballistic missiles after Biden gave Ukraine the green light to fire long-range attack missiles into Russia, and the UK gave.
According to an ex-military chief that was sacked by Zelensky, who's now an envoy to Britain, he's come out and said that we're already in World War III. And his reasoning is because of Iran, North Korea and China providing weapons right, left and centre to Russia, and the fact that North Korea have got a minimum of 10,000 military troops on the ground. Now, this guy stands by what he said, and it's something I think we should all take note of, because in this country just today we've got a guy called Rob McGowan. I'm not sure what his rank was. Excuse me. He's Deputy Chief of the British Defence, and he came out and said if the British Army was asked to fight tonight, it would fight tonight. Now this is starting to get serious, and it's time that people started to think of this very, very carefully. Because also, Russia has tested one of its longest firing rockets, and if you look at the distance it can travel, it could hit parts of the UK. It might fall just short of London, but it could do some serious damage. So here's a question. Do you think that this is now the start of World War III? Do you think we're actually in the early stages of World War III, or do you think it's just saber rattling by people that want to go to war to earn more medals or something? I mean, it doesn't help that Putin's come out and said that because the Storm Shadow missiles that Britain helped provide Ukraine have been fired into Russia, that we are now an enemy and we are under threat from him. Obviously the United States is that much further away, but sources from America have said that troops have been readied to travel to Europe to top up the American troops that are already here. But then you've got to ask, where is NATO on all this? I've been watching different news channels today, and I can't find anybody from NATO standing up and saying that if there is any aggression on soil outside of Russia or Ukraine, then we will step in. And then if you take the bigger picture, if we are going into World War III, does it mean conscription? And if it does mean conscription, would we put male and female into strategic positions within our armed forces onto the front line? And would you volunteer? Here's the big question. Would you volunteer to defend this country in the mainland of Europe? Let me know.
Days after President Biden allowed Ukraine to strike parts of Russia with U.S.-built and proffered missiles, Putin is threatening to retaliate with strikes against U.S. facilities and says his military hit Ukraine today with a medium-range hypersonic ballistic missile. The Pentagon just responded moments ago. Watch this.
We've seen this type of, dangerous, reckless rhetoric before from President Putin. What we're focused on is continuing to support Ukraine with what it needs.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst reports live from Kyiv. He has been watching all of this up close and was in the tunnels with President Zelensky just the other day. Trey, what about this new development?
Yeah, Martha, good afternoon. We know that overnight Russia launched a new missile into Ukraine targeting the southern city of the Dnipro. This was the first time that such a large weapon was used on the battlefield since this conflict began 2.5 years ago. And it raises questions about the message that Russia is trying to send. Ukraine initially claimed the missile was an intercontinental ballistic missile, but Russian President Putin says it was an intermediate ballistic missile. The Russian leader said in the future, civilians will be warned to leave areas where more advanced missiles will be launched. Putin added this about the involvement of the West.
We consider ourselves in the right to use our weapons against those nations that use their weapons against us. And in terms of escalation, we will respond as surely and clearly.
The escalation comes as Ukrainian forces are now targeting deeper into Russia using U.S. and British-supplied long-range missiles, while overnight the Biden administration approved the transfer of anti-personnel mines to Ukraine.
And I can tell you unequivocally, 100%, we are in World War III. And you can say today, hours ago, when the UK fired between 12 and 20, and reportedly there's more, so that's why it's growing, high-powered, supersonic cruise missiles out of Ukraine into Russia at military targets. The missiles were delivered. And that if the West said we are now escalating, just the announcement would mean Russia was, quote, in a state of war officially with NATO. When these missiles rained down a few hours ago, that they are in bunkers in Russia with their high command, and they are saying we are now officially at war. I bet you my life that they have said we are now officially at war and are deciding what to do. More weapons get rolled in up against the border. Russia goes in to push those weapons out. Says, don't join NATO, get your long-range weapons out. We don't like missiles being brought in that can take out our nuclear forces in a sneak attack. We don't want to invade. This is the final red line. You've gone over dozens of our red lines. This is the final red line. And NATO said in communiques that are public, we don't believe it, keep doing it. Encircling Russia. And that's the same thing. Oh, look, we bombed Russia yesterday. They didn't nuke us. I saw that all over the news, all over X, people laughing at me. Oh, Alex, you said this could cause a nuclear war and escalation. Russia didn't do anything. See. And so you're playing with the end of the world.
So after all these escalations from yesterday in the Ukrainian-Russian conflict, Ukraine using U.S. long-range missiles inside of Russia for the first time, then right after Putin updates the Russian nuclear doctrine, stating that a non-nuclear state supported by a nuclear one attacking Russia would be considered as a joint attack, and they are now a strike-first nuclear force. Now Russia is building nuclear-resistant shelters, and obviously that is a strong sign that they are either expecting something or just taking a preventative measure due to these escalations. But don't take it from me. Here's the video that I got this news from. Check it out. I'll keep you guys updated.
These bomb shelters are designed to protect against radiation and natural disasters, and they're now being mass-produced in Russia, the country's Emergency Ministry Research Institute has said. The announcement coming as US President Joe Biden's administration agreed to allow Ukraine to fire American long-range missiles deep into Russia, though the Research Institute did not link the production increase to any current crisis. The Cub-M shelter is said to defend against a variety of threats, including shrapnel, debris and fires. It can even be deployed in Russia's vast northern permafrost, according to the State Institute. A standard unit can hold 54 people, but additional modules can be added. The war in Ukraine is entering what some officials say could be its final, most dangerous phase. Moscow's forces are advancing at their fastest pace since the early weeks of the conflict in 2022, while the West is seeking to shore up Ukraine. On Tuesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin issued a warning to the US, lowering the threshold for a nuclear strike. On Monday, the Kremlin called Washington's long-range missile decision reckless and said it would respond.
Has changed the face of the Ukraine war. But first, the North Korean involvement. With over 10,000 North Korean soldiers flowing into Russia, the obvious question is, where are they all going? The Russian oblast has been the subject of a Ukrainian invasion since early August 2024. Ukraine currently holds around 460 square miles of territory in Kursk, which includes up to 93 villages and settlements that it overran in the space of a month. Putin hasn't managed to dislodge those Ukrainian soldiers in the nearly 3 months that have followed the initial invasion. He needs more people. That's where North Korea comes into play. Al Jazeera says that the Pentagon has confirmed the entry of North Korean troops into Kursk. Pentagon spokesperson Pat Ryder says that there are a small number of North Korean troops in the Kursk Oblast, with a couple thousand more that are almost there or due to arrive imminently. This is actually a clever strategy by Putin. Those North Korean soldiers aren't going into Ukraine, meaning he can make the defense that he's only working with North Korea to push Ukraine soldiers out of Russia's territory. Plus, he gets manpower to feed into what is likely to become a Kursk meat grinder, akin to the one he's created in Ukraine, without sacrificing his more experienced Russian soldiers.
The Illinois Supreme Court has overturned actor Jussie Smollett's criminal conviction for staging a hate crime against himself in Chicago in 2019. Yesterday, the court did not weigh in on Smollett's innocence or guilt, but ruled he should not have been prosecuted after the case was initially dropped. Smollett has long maintained he's a victim, not a criminal.
So the government's panicking because they're running low on soldiers, aren't they? And they reckon they're going to call you up. You. Your country needs you. Yeah? Well, we know what we can say to that, can't you? Yeah? I won't say it because obviously, you know, someone will get the ump with me and go, oh yeah, traitor, and yeah, where's your backbone, all that. Let me tell you something now. I have a backbone to get on here and say, no way. We ain't going to war with Russia. Why would we want to go to war with Russia anyway? The problem with the government, what they've done wrong, is they let loads of people come to this country, okay? It's not such a bad thing, but when you let over 200,000 Russians come here anyway, and we're good mates with a lot of them, yeah, and Ukrainians, and everyone else, and then you expect us to go and fight against them? No. First of all, I think, I'm going to ask you the question now. Do you want to fight for your country, yes or no, against Russia? This pointless war when we could have peace, yeah? And do you think Starmer should step down straight away? Yes or no? Come on, let's see a backbone from you.
Russian citizens and our friends around the world, as well as those who still nurture illusions that a strategic defeat can be inflicted against Russia, about events that are happening in the Special Military Operations Zone. I'm talking about what happened in the wake of long-range Western weapons being used in the Special Military Operations Zone. As a result of the escalation, the United States and their NATO allies said that they give their permission to use long-range weapons against targets inside Russia. Experts know fully well, and the Russian side has underscored this time and again, that using such weapons without the direct involvement of military operators from manufacturing countries is impossible. On November the 19th, 6 ATACMS missiles manufactured in the US were used, and on the 21st, a combined attack using Storm Shadow manufactured in the UK and missiles manufactured in the US were used to attack missile targets in the Bryansk and Kursk regions of the Russian Federation. Starting from that point, as we have underscored many times, the regional conflict in Ukraine, provoked by the West, acquired a global character. Our anti-missile systems countered those attacks. As a result, the targets and objectives set by the enemy were not achieved. The fire and the ammunition storage in the Bryansk region, as a result of fragments of ATACMS missiles falling, has been contained. No victims. In the Kursk region, one of the command and control centers of our Sever group was attacked. As a result of the attack and the countermeasures, there have been people wounded and killed, and those who were involved in servicing these facilities, those who were members of the command, have not been hit by the attack and are now continuing their operation to remove the enemy from the Kursk region. I repeat, the use of such weapons cannot change the course of a special military operation. Our military is successfully advancing along the entire line of contact, and all the objectives that we set before ourselves will be met. As a response to the use of US and UK manufactured weapons, the Russian forces have carried out a combined strike on one of the military-industrial facilities in Ukraine. And this included the test of a novel intermediate-range Russian missile system. A ballistic missile with a non-nuclear hypersonic payload was used. The test was carried out successfully. The objectives of the launch have been met. One of the largest and well-known industrial centers that is known since the Soviet times in the Dnieper region, which is known to be involved in enemy production, was hit. And further plans are being made in Europe and the Asia-Pacific to deploy weapons and missiles. And we believe it is a mistake on the part of the United States to destroy the system that was established by the Missile Treaty in 2019. We see that the United States and their allies are now considering and have successfully tested their capabilities to deploy advanced missile systems in different parts of the world. And their exercises routinely include the use of such weapons. Russia has unilaterally refused to deploy intermediate and small-range missiles until we see similar weapons deployed by the United States in a region of the world. The use of the novel system, which was essentially an operational test, was carried out in response to the decisions made by the United States and their allies. And the further actions will be considered and decided based on what we see from them. The further course of action will be determined based on the threats to the security of the Russian Federation. We believe that we have the right to use our weapons against military facilities of countries who allow their weapons to be used against ours. And in case of an escalation, we will act as decisively in a mirror fashion. The ruling elites of the countries are nurturing plans to use their military contingents against Russia should be warned. When choosing measures to be used in response, such as the use of systems that was tested recently in Ukraine, will certainly include warnings to civilians and to clear the zones that will be targeted, and we will certainly do this in a transparent fashion. And we do not have any fears that it will reduce the effectiveness of those systems, because there is no way to counteract a missile that flies at 10 Mach, which is 2.5 to 3 kilometers per second. Existing anti-missile systems and the anti-missile systems deployed by the United States and Europe cannot intercept such missiles. It is impossible. So, once again, it is not Russia but the United States who have destroyed the system of international security. And they are trying to preserve their hegemony and stoking a global conflict. We have always preferred, and we still prefer, to resolve our disagreements using peaceful means, but we are prepared for any scenario. And if anyone has any doubts, they shouldn't. There will always be a response.
All right, you guys. You guys heard it from Putin himself that he is ready to strike. This is crazy. You guys, World War III has begun today. Yo, I never thought a world war will be here in my lifetime. Okay? I never thought that, oh my gosh, that, I would see it. But well, here we is. Here we are. And it's about to get bad because Putin isn't playing. And you heard him say, the United States is, stirring up some problems. You know, I don't understand, why we sending missiles over there, tanks over there. Anyway, we just should keep everything over here for us in our defense. This is crazy. And Putin, he just ain't talking about taps here and there. No, he's about to start a nuclear war. Okay? Nuclear. Because United States is one of the countries that have nukes. This is not a game. Biden's old ass, okay, has put us in World War III already. But wasn't Trump trying to make peace with Putin? That's what I thought. I wouldn't have thought, you know, man, this is insane. This is crazy. So now, I don't know what Trump is going to do when he becomes president in 2025 and how he's going to clean up Biden's mess. Because Biden really did it this time. It's like a big FU to Trump's face. I YouTube, you guys, I just one person tries to prevent it and another one's happened. But like they say, war is going to happen anyway. It was just a matter of time that World War III is going to start. You know, we just have to sit back and see what will happen next and what move Russia is going to pull and see where that lies. Because this is just ridiculous. And now we're the target. I don't know. But all I can say is you guys better stop prepping. Better stop buying them canned goods now. Because once war starts, they're taking the medicine and they're taking the food. So please be prepared. This is a sign that war is happening. Have a great day, YouTube.